cybersecurity priority for CIOs in UAE right now? And how is that different from the top priority in the US market?
It's a great question. The reality is that the markets are very, very different. UAE, I think, is really focused on not only a very big, bold vision around digital transformation, but what we've seen is really two key themes. One, how do we protect our most sensitive data? And two, right, how do we ensure the identity of the type of people that we're working with in order to ensure that we can protect against a lot of the phishing, a lot of the different adversaries that can continue to, I think, dominate the marketplace. Outside of that, we're seeing a lot of investments from third parties as well as other organizations, other countries that are coming or flooding into the market at this point, including investments from the US. So we're really excited to be part of this, and we think that there's a very big opportunity for not only Seclore, but other vendors who are interested in securing, I think, the bold vision of the UAE.
Zero trust is never trusting, always verifying. Can you give us a clear, real-world example of how Seclore seeks to protect the document that is shared outside of a company's network?
Yeah, another great question. Look, when you think about zero trust, there's a number of pillars that I think are foundational. In the middle of that is securing data. We think about securing data at the file itself, and that is, how do you do it in a persistent way? I'll give you a great example. Today, CFOs may want to send their financials to a third party to be audited. Today, they'll either have to send those, maybe encrypted from their organization to that third party auditor, but once they get to the auditor and that file is engaged with or opened or saved locally, there's no further protection beyond that file. What Seclore does is persistently ensures that the access and the privileges associated to that file are always or continuously associated and constantly monitored, meaning that they can dynamically be changed at any time or even be revoked at any point in time. That is the notion of zero trust and that persistent data security model.
To sell a complex solution like data-centric security when many customers are still comfortable with traditional, simpler firewall perimeter security?
Yeah, look, I think it's actually pretty simple, and our partners have engaged in a tremendous way and embraced, I think, what we're doing here at Seclore from a data-centric security perspective. And the reality is, I think most partners recognize that no longer can you look at the world through the lens of a perimeter security. That's your endpoints, your firewalls, maybe even your DLPs. What you have to be able to do is ensure that that data is protected not only inside of the organization, but across the supply chain or the third parties and everywhere else that that data travels. This has been really, really simple. Candidly, probably post-COVID, became rather obvious the way that we operate is very different than the way that we operated 2 decades ago. So again, there's a lot of enablement, there's a lot of trust, and there's a lot of transparency that I go into creating a great channel, but behind that is tremendous product, and certainly customers have a unique problem to solve, and we tend to do that here at Seclore.
We hear a lot about, in simple terms for our readers, what is the key difference between securing the container network perimeter and securing the content data center?
Yeah, so think about it in these terms. When you think about securing a network or an endpoint or even somebody's organization, that is that perimeter approach. And the reality is that people have to send data to third parties or to supply chains. This data has to be protected in a continuous fashion back into that zero trust model. When we think about it, we look at it through the lens of, if you want to secure data, it's pretty obvious. You should secure the file or the data itself. And when security travels with the data, it becomes that zero trust model that everybody's been, I think, searching for. And it becomes something that you can rely on and count on and dynamically change at any point in time. That's what we believe is the new foundation by which any sort of digital transformation or any security is even possible.
You say recurring value. What does recurring value look like to a CISO who invests in Seclore?
Yeah.
Is it just compliance or is it something more immediate?
Yeah, look, value comes in a lot of different shapes and forms. But the reality is that we're not just selling product. We're selling relationships. We're selling a unique understanding of what those CISOs or CIOs are actually trying to solve for. everybody has somewhat similar use cases, but there's always a uniqueness to each one of them. Our ability to really understand, internalize, and then develop product that uniquely solves for those problems is where that recurring value comes from. Those organizations or those vendors who are constantly chasing revenue, candidly, will be left behind. That might seem like the task at hand, but the reality is value is the opportunity not only to create, but also transfer that to customers, and that's what we try to do here at Seclore.
Africa is seeing a massive surge in cybercrime, with cybersecurity budgets and scattered IT resources. How does Seclore technology offer a practical, budget-friendly advantage to an African company facing these specific capacity challenges?
Yeah, Africa's a unique opportunity unto itself, right? Again, huge investments are going into the market. We see this across, areas like Kenya, Nigeria, Ethiopia, certainly Egypt and South Africa, but that's expanded. We're seeing foreign dollars come into the region. But when you think about how do you do it efficiently or how do you do it with a small budget, where Seclore really comes in is if you really think about the problem we're trying to solve for, most times it is how do we secure data? We do that in a very unique, I think very targeted way, and that is we actually provide the permissioning and the rules as well as the access to the data. And that ensures that no matter what other technologies you employ, data becomes the center of your universe and certainly the center of your cybersecurity approach.
As a board advisor, you have a strategic view. One piece of advice you consistently give security companies about how they need to adjust the product roadmap right now to prepare for the AI-driven threat landscape of 2026.
Look, we're really early, right? I would say that when you think about AI, we're still in that very incremental stage. I don't think we've seen the exponential value that AI brings. So my I think best advice would be you got to continue to listen. You have to continue to learn from the markets. I think we're on the very tip of the spear when it comes to what AI is going to bring to the market. Best thing that any vendor can do at any stage, regardless of the cycles we've seen, whether that's been the move to the internet, that's been the move to virtualization, that's been the move to the cloud, and now maybe even AI. The reality is we need to continue to think about how customers are actually leveraging technologies and how AI itself is changing the way that we actually do business. And we have to listen and we're going to have to learn together. And ideally we can iterate at a very fast pace.